why am I willing to leave my home? Because I know I'm not willing to never leave my home, but why do I leave my home?
COVID very much proved that we don't have to leave the house really if we didn't need to.
What is like the best part of life? If we could do anything we wanted for the rest of our lives, what would we do? We would just go have experiences. We would go create memories with the people we love. This is what humans want more than anything else. They want durable, positive memories. Anytime I have tried to do something new, I've come to the end of myself. I've come to the end of my resources, and I have wanted at times to die. When I have tried to do anything meaningful, I have to push through that.
Tough times or those things either they're gonna, they build character, they make you who you are.
That is what separates winners from quitters.
Hello, and welcome to Amber Energy, the podcast. Join us as we discuss entrepreneurship, branding, and trending business topics. I'm your host, Amber Jacobs, and I have the experience of working for Fortune 500 as well as in-house for global companies, and I've enjoyed the pleasure of being a part of some of the biggest design agencies in the world. I went full-time in my boutique virtual design firm and want to share those trials and tribulations with you. Let's get started.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Amber Energy, the podcast. Today, we have guest Mark Sandeno with Experiences. He's the CEO. Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how we know each other?
Well, let's start with how we know each other. You and I have been doing businessy things together for a number of years, going way back into, the aughts at some point when I was running a consulting agency called Helpful Human, which I still do. I still have that. But now my primary focus is, as you mentioned, being the CEO of a SaaS startup called Experiences. And what can I tell you about myself? I'm a Northwest native. I've lived various places around the world. I have 3 teenage boys. I'm enjoying the mild yet sunny summer we're having here in the Northwest with intermittent bursts of rain. And just generally, I like striving and trying and failing my way to success. But yeah, I mean, anything else you want to know, just ask.
I can hear you. Yeah. Let's see. We met because we're both in the greater Seattle area. We both worked on a project together. I want to say like 2019, 2020 together on a website redesign and relaunch, Shopify experience for, do we say their name? Are we allowed to say that? FSA Vision Tech. Yeah, FSA Vision Tech. They're an awesome client of ours. And it was a fun project, and they were a great client to work with. So that was how we kicked off our experience together. And yeah, we're both in the greater, I don't know where you live. I think I live in Everett. I was living in Marysville at the time. And I miss Pacific Northwest. I was just there yesterday. And in fact, over the weekend, I was at Stevens Pass shooting an archery tournament. At Stevens Pass. It's called the Northwest Mountain Challenge, and it definitely made me miss the mountains and the woods of Washington State.
Is that something you do, archery? I mean, or was it just something you picked up at the last minute and thought, how hard could it be?
No, it's funny. Let's see here. How did I get into? My husband wanted to get into archery, like maybe 6-7 years ago, maybe 8. I don't know. It's been a moment. He wanted to get into that because he couldn't shoot rifle season anymore for hunting. And so he's like, well, how cool would it be to do archery during the rut in September? And so he started picking up the bow. He's like, oh, let's do this thing called Northwest Mountain Challenge. It's like an archery disc golf in the mountains. So you take the chairlift up, and then you have like these 3D foam targets all over Stevens Pass. And it's like a disc golf in the mountains with your bows and arrows. And it's like each course has like 20 holes or something like that, right? And you're shooting at these foam targets that could be like, yes, an elk or a moose, but also could be Sasquatch or a rattlesnake, or rather all sorts of funny animals. A crocodile we shot at this last weekend. We shot a lot of funny things. Anyways, but you do it for accuracy. And then you have to figure out how far away. And these foam targets are in the rock boulder fields, or they're between trees, or they're like a hard shot. And they're up and they're down, and you're trying to do a thing. And then you're keeping score if that's what you're doing for the tournament.
Yeah, I guess that's better than going up and shooting at disc golfers.
I mean,
A little
that can
less
be
exciting but less murderous as well.
well, you're up there with the mountain bikers and all the hikers, but this is a really good time. They have that particular outfit and now has it at 3 different mountains: Stevens Pass, Mount Hoodoo, and Tamarack. So it's called the Triple Crown if you win all 3 mountains, and they have a whole
Wow.
shebang. It's a lot of fun. So we've been doing that since like 2018. And since then, his dad and his sister and his cousin have gotten into it. And then the first year, maybe the second year that we went to this Northwest Mountain Challenge, they always have like an auction and da-da-da-da-da. We entered in like $20 to this auction. I won a bow. So I was like, well, I guess I have to get
Nice.
started.
No
Yeah, you don't
kidding.
just win a bow. So anyway, I won a bow. And so I wasn't going to do it. I was like, oh, it's your thing, honey. It's cool. And so when you win a bow, though, you're like, well, I guess I should do this. So anyways, now I've been shooting for, I don't know, 5-6 years. And that's fun. I like doing it recreationally. I don't feel like I want to do it to harvest an animal with it, but I could. I'm very proficient. I do rifle season with my dad.
Yeah. Well, you were very outdoorsy, and you were rising to the Northwest Challenge, as they have named this. So that's cool.
Yes,
I love it.
It was fun. So it was a fun weekend to be in Washington. And last night we got home around midnight. So that's always a good time.
Yeah, that's a late day.
Yes. So here we are. It's all good. So Pacific Northwest. Well, tell us a little bit more about this experience project. It's a pretty cool thing because you've been kind of been on this track ever since I met you. You know, like, oh yeah, I do this thing, Helpful Human and Shopify experiences and Shopify developing of websites. But this thing, experiences, retail experiences, has been your like real passion and something you've kind of brought up throughout the time. Even when we were working with that client, you're like, oh, but these experiences, you can have stuff at your retail experiences. So it's a very cool thing. And how about we tell the audience a little bit more about what that means and maybe some of the clientele or types of experience that we're having or what type of experiences you're helping people have.
Yeah,
how about we start there?
Absolutely. Be happy to. So we as a company build software. Yes, we do stuff over Shopify and some more of what you would call agency work over the years, but the way we really made money was building custom software for businesses. And we would do that with other engineering firms, bigger agencies, or directly with big brands. And some of these projects were pretty big. And in the process of building a team that could do that kind of stuff, like real nuts and bolts making of stuff, I started to look around and I thought, where could we make something that we could sell directly to those consumers? And one thing I wanted, because this isn't my first rodeo as a subscription software business, I wanted something that didn't require a big consultative sale up front, like where you have to have multiple meetings and you got to wine them and dine them because it's so expensive, right?
Sure.
And that is a strategy when you're launching software. It's actually probably a smarter strategy to charge enough on a yearly subscription that you don't need 1,000 customers to really make a go of it. But I wanted something that customers could self-onboard that was in a big marketplace. And so then I remember I was sitting with one of my employees, a guy named Pete Albertson, and we were just wondering what are we really into? What do we really love? What is like the best part of life? If we could do anything we wanted for the rest of our lives, what would we do? And I don't remember if it was Pete or me who said it first, or we arrived at the same time to this conclusion, but it was, we would just go have experiences. We would go create memories with the people we love. It would be all manner of, travel. We would dine, we would create, and so we looked around and we thought, okay, who is doing that? Who is facilitating that? And we discovered this concept called the experience economy, which these authors, Joseph Pines and another guy named Gilmore, wrote this book called The Experience Economy about 20 plus years ago. And they talk about sports, entertainment, travel, and dining. And so we looked around and thought, who is facilitating that? And it was small businesses.
Yep.
And we thought, how can we empower small businesses in an era where you don't have to leave your home to buy anything? So small retailers are getting their milkshake drunk by really good D2C, purely D2C retailers. what can they do? And what we saw they
Mm-hmm.
were doing intuitively is they were hosting experiences. They were creating community in their retail spaces, but they were having to use tools like Eventbrite or Evite
Yes.
or
Yep.
myriad others where their brand was not front and center. So we thought, hey, what would happen if we,
And it was
for
convoluted. It was
Shopify?
clunky experience, right? Like you had to it was a very clunky experience to get a customer to go through a thing.
You're so I'm in love with you as a brand, and I click on, oh, I want to do this, and I say I want to go to there, right? And you click on it, and then a whole other page pops
Yeah,
up, and you're like, wait a second, am I in the right place?
I
And
know.
then the retailer, it's like a black box. They don't know what's going on there. They can't track it. The data is no longer theirs. And if they're using
Yeah.
something like a experience aggregator like Airbnb experiences,
Mm-hmm.
those are now Airbnb's customers. And
Yeah.
they will take you downtown and put the smack down if you try to get to their customers.
Yes,
When
they
the
will.
customers show up, yeah, host them, but don't ever go directly to them. You're always going to pay that 30% or whatever it is commission. So anyways, what we created at that point was a tool that in 5 clicks you are set up to offer experiences on brand on your Shopify website at your domain. It goes through the payment processing you have set up there, and you can communicate and talk
So cool.
to your customer the way you want to. And we kind of sit in the background and we facilitate all that time-based booking, all the reminders and all that kind of stuff. So on one hand, it's just a simple little utility, but really what we're doing is we're partnering with these retailers to help them host people, which is the coolest thing, to create those memories that we're all looking for.
Precisely. Yeah. I mean, like as you and I were talking, like at the end of the day, it's all about experiences with the people you love. And I think everybody's dream, of course, is to travel and do this, go to the lake, have fun times. And a lot of people wait till retirement. You know, obviously, you hope that you can do a lot of those things before you get there.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's about experiences and making memories. And I think that ties back into having a good brand. What do you think about when you think about a company? What do you think about when you think about a brand, a product, a service, or whatever that is? It's about the experience, the feeling that you have when you think about the company, that community that they're building. You know, I could think all the way back to my time when I was living in Fremont, and this place had like trivia night, right? And that was 20 years ago, but that was kind of they'd have trivia night, and yeah, it was about sure the beer, okay, cool, yeah, they had beer or whatever on tap, but really it was about creating that experience at a cool place in a cool area with cool people. And yeah,
Yeah.
sure, you could win or lose at the trivia, like who cares about the trivia, but it was just about meeting people and creating community and creating friends in a place that maybe you don't know much about. And then yeah, sure, you might drink the beer and you might drink the whatever. But when you think about that bar, when you think about that area, that community, that place, you're like, oh, I have this nostalgic, this awesome feeling about that company, about that brand, because they hosted a cool thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And what is happening? So you have the utility of people going somewhere and they say, well, I want to do this candle making workshop, or I want to do a distillery tour, or I want to blend some wine, or I want to go to this farm experience, or I want to make a candle. These are all the
Yeah,
kind
I
of
do.
customers we have. But right, totally. But like the candle, I think the candle making thing is peak experience economy, because candles are commodities, right? And we
Mhm.
know we have, $200 candles, and we have essentially free candles. You can get candles at the dollar store, and they're low tech. They're easy to produce. And so a lot of people, say, hey, I have a candle shop, or I'm going to make these satchels or whatever. We have customers. We have lots of candle making workshops. Some of them do over $1 million a year in revenue, $50 per booking. Why is that happening? What is happening there? Is it that people are just like, oh my gosh, thank God you're here. There was such a lack of supply of candles in the world. I'm willing to come and make my own. I just can't find candles anywhere. No, what's happening is it's
Mhm.
people getting together with their besties or their spouses or
Yeah,
their
something fun to
kids.
do.
And yes, and it's something fun to do, but there's a deeper narrative that's the same for all experiences, which is I want to create a positive memory with people instead of sitting at home or getting lit in a bar, or and maybe a multi-thousand-dollar vacation isn't accessible. So what I'm looking to do is I'm something to do to create a memory. And the cool thing about like a candle, for instance, is the candle itself, yes, maybe it smells good when they light it and everything, but it's really a totem or a memory
Mm-hmm.
of the memory they created with people. And this is what
Precisely.
humans want more than anything else. They want durable, positive memories. And it's interesting to watch all these retailers do this cool thing.
Super cool. I mean, I'm a mom of 2 sons as well. And like, I don't want any more toys for the kids. I want grandparents or people. I'd rather you buy them like tickets to the zoo, or let's go do
Mhm.
something together. Like, let's go build a memory. Let's go to, around Christmas, let's go to, I don't know, some kind of play or some kind of, some kind of something. I don't care what it is. Nativity
Mhm.
scene. I don't care what it is. Let's go do something together around harvest time. I want to go to like a pumpkin patch and let's go do something together. Don't buy them another toy. Let's go do
Yeah.
something. Same thing with my girlfriends. Let's not go out for another silly meal. Let's go out. Like my friend Rachel, she got us like a cooking class at, gosh, what's that really? Oh my goodness, his name is escaping me. But anyways, got a cooking class in Seattle at a really famous, well-known chef,
Tom Douglas.
Tom Douglas. Thank you so much. My
Yeah.
my words were escaped me. And so anyhow, like but that experience, that was, a long time ago, maybe 7 years ago, and I still enjoy the memory that I made with my best friend.
Right. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. And that's what
And
it's all about. Yeah.
or a random yoga experience at the Seattle Glass Museum there, or the at the Space Needle. They have like
Yeah.
yoga experiences in that huge greenhouse menagerie glass house with like the beautiful glass work everywhere around you, Chihuly. And
Yeah.
it's like a great experience. And you invite your friends and you have a wonderful time, and you go to the coffee shop afterwards, but you have an experience. And I think those are the things that as you said earlier, humans value the most. And yeah, sure, we like the yoga instructor, but and yes, sir, that a certain yoga studio put it on, but it was really about that experience. And the other thing, like the products or things that they're hosting, let's just say, you're going on a hike, and yeah, it's a hike brand or a retailer. Yeah, it's about the experience. The products and services to me are sort of the gimme, like they're like the secondary, like the experience itself, the community, that is the primary. And like, yeah, if you like these products and services, hopefully you buy them from
Mhm.
us, and you remember us when you next time need a thing. But it's really about hosting that positive memory, which I think is really cool.
It is
How
cool.
fun.
Yeah.
That's kind of one thing I'm trying to create with my hopeful nonprofit, is what I'm trying to create with that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The
Yeah.
tutus and I'm sorry,
Tutus and
what was the name of
tequila. Yeah, it's okay.
tutus
It's
and
a
tequila?
tutus and tequila. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sort of hopefully kind of be bridging that gap of like creating community and that social fabric that I think is a little, missing and lacking these days.
Mhm.
That we kind of need to have more of in our life. So hopefully creating a positive crafting memory that then is useful and fun for other events perhaps, or ideas. So hopefully that'll be my next fun thing. Maybe I'll have to work with you on that idea, but but it's kind of like the idea, like creating memories, crafting. I like that a lot. Well, let's go back to, we were talking, I think, in our discovery about innovation creates opportunity. Where do you see your app creating that opportunity?
Well, so there's opportunity for people who are just starting or haven't started yet. One thing that you'll often hear me talking about is, so you have your technology, but then you have your mindset. So there's innovation in technology and innovation in mindset. I believe that you can put together almost any type of experience, and invite people into it. And if you tell that story well, or if you really just share, hey, here's what we're doing, you're going to get people who are going to say thank you very much, and they're going to pay you handsomely to do this thing that they really want to consume, which is they want to create they the experience itself creates what they really want, which is the positive memory and the durable, tangible thing, right? So I was telling someone just the other night who was asking me the same question. It's like, okay, so tell me about the technology or what's it for? And I was like, listen, one thing I've seen across the board is these entrepreneurs, experiential entrepreneurs, or just brands who are saying, we want to innovate, we want to grow, we want to matter. And it'll be a hobby farm doing goat snuggles, for instance, which is a category. It's really amazing how many of these long tail, no pun intended, categories there are of things you just could never imagine. But I was telling someone else, like, for instance, in the Northwest here, we have Snohomish County, right? So it's north of King County. And we have the Cascade Mountains, and we have Highway 2 that goes up to Stevens Pass, which kind of becomes King County at one point. But someone could create SnohomishCountyAdventures.com, and they could work with different vendors or people already doing like everything from hiking to biking to kayaking to fishing to archery or whatever.
Yeah.
And they could create a very thematic thing. They could find and brand merch. They could create merch or find merch, and they could brand merch, and they could combine this offering of well-branded merch with highly curated experiences, and they wouldn't even have to do it all. They could just negotiate with other vendors, and they could have a multi-million-dollar business.
Oh yeah, you're probably right. No doubt.
And no one's really doing that kind of stuff.
People want that so stinking bad. And I think some places like eBright, like you said earlier, these third-party things are trying to do that. You know, they give you sort of events in your area, but they're not doing it very well. They're not doing it as well as they could. It's a miss maybe on them, but people really want to feel connected, probably now more than ever post-COVID. That social fabric was really, kind of torn during those COVID years. And I think it's going to take quite a bit to get back to that, building community and connection. Tell me a little bit more about how you think when we might be able to get back to that, like social fabric, that community that I think we're all missing. What are some of those things that you think would be good to help us all?
I mean, people go to it like flies to light, to be honest, or a moth to light. I don't know if flies go to light, but moths definitely
moths,
do.
I think maybe moths do. Like,
yeah, I think it's. I'm
maybe
getting
a
my
mosquito does.
Up.
I mean, I love a good mosquito zap. So I hate.
I think it's flies to something else and moth to light. We won't mention what flies go towards, but people naturally want to do it. I think really what it is entrepreneurs and retailers have to create the path of least resistance. And where they provide resistance to people and friction is where they do not think of the experiential as the primary offering. Listen, if I'm going to buy a pair of shoes, I can buy a pair of shoes almost anywhere, right?
Infinite places.
But what I cannot do is have a highly curated running store fitting plus running club kind of thing and community at some small running retailer. And the reason I believe the reason they don't do that is they see. Okay, go ahead.
I think some people are doing that, just not maybe doing it as well as how smoothly they could be doing it. Because I know, for example, there's places in Green Lake area that are doing that rather well.
Right.
But it's a small community. They don't have the words. Words doesn't get out very far because it's really just stuck to that small community. And mostly through word of mouth, people know to go to a certain place to go have a shoe trying, foot wearing experience and then go for a jog around Green Lake.
Yeah, totally. You got it. You nailed it.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know about a thing unless you were like in the community and it was like word of mouth, because it's hard to get that word out if it's not just a street sandwich board or whatever, because their options are not great right now to get the word out. And I think perhaps what you're trying to say is that experiences, your company, could help definitely facilitate such a wonderful event and a more smooth experience for the consumer and for them.
Yeah. I mean, I would say yes. And the reality is that the technology is not special. What is special is when retailers have the right mindset about giving the customer what they actually want and need. Even if the customer doesn't come in and say, hey, I'm looking for experiences. unless you have something that no one else has and you can only get it by going to this one place, they're going to look for the greatest value they can consume. They're going to price shop, they're going to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if your primary offering is the experience, they will prefer you for the consumption of the thing you're selling, whether it's running shoes, cupcakes, candles, or whatever. I think a really interesting example is that like a kitchen or a houseware store that
Oh,
does small. They have a small kitchen, a commercial kitchen, and they do cooking classes, right? Are they just passionate about teaching people how to poach a salmon? Like, is that their mission?
maybe.
Well, probably, maybe, but while they even probably charge for those cooking classes, and it probably is a profit center or at least a revenue generator, their
Oh, for
goal is
sure.
really to holistically succeed selling all clad and Wusthof knives
Well, it's called a loss leader. I mean, a loss leader in the retail space, like in grocery stores, it's called a loss leader. They'll purposely put like a turkey on like super low price per pound because they
right.
know that that's going to be a loss leader. But what they want you for is they want you for the pumpkin and the this and the that and all the things that you need for your Thanksgiving meal that they're charging, maybe I don't know, upwards of 40% margin for those other goods. So they're going to purposely put on ad the loss leader to get you in for
hmm
everything else because that's what they
Yeah,
really want to sell you.
I personally think it's a mistake for retailers, and I've had this conversation numerous times for them to position their experiences as just a marketing tool or a loss leader, because people actually they come to find it's like actually this is what people are willing to pay the premium for,
Heck yeah.
because everything else is just consumptive.
Right.
And
It is.
so
Like
it's
I
an
had
interest.
no problem paying a premium for a really expensive terrarium, like where you do the plants in the glass. Like
Right.
I had no problem paying a nice premium to have like a terrarium, this beautiful glass terrarium with these really cool plants and the rocks and the plants and the moss and the thing. Like that thing was not cheap. But the experience I had with my best friend Karen was way more worth it. Like we made a whole deal out of it. We went to coffee, we went and made a terrarium that took a few hours. And I didn't mind paying a premium that day for that birthday or like reconnection experience. But so I think you're right for sure. Like there is definitely a market for that. And I think I would rather have an experience than another silly little gift that I'm like, thanks, it was a good gift.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. So imagine a scenario where there's a professionally made terrarium that is, by all account, a very nice terrarium, but you picked it up at Terrariums R Us and you really had nothing to do with the creation of it. It just looks good. Versus the terrarium you made with your bestie that you probably even paid a premium for, that is
The glass.
maybe slightly janky in comparison to the professionally created terrarium. Which one would you rather own?
Oh, I love the one I made with Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
And
I love
that's
it, even if it is quirky or whatever. Like it might not match my exact motif in my house
right.
or
Yeah.
whatever it is, but I like it more because it's quirky and funny and lovely, and I love it.
Yeah. And I think that's the magic of humans, really.
It's
We
not
don't sit
perfect.
around thinking I want a substandard thing. What I think is I want a heightened experience.
hmm Like for example, like you got kids, I got kids. Like I got over here on my little picture frame area, little things that they've made, and I love them because they're not perfect.
Right.
I
Yeah.
love them because or I did this thing with my friend Heather and it's whatever. And I love it because it's not perfect. I love it because it is quirky and it's got splotches or it's not quite right or it's whatever. I love it because it's not perfect. It's imperfect. And I love it even more
Right.
than
Yeah.
than the
It,
perfect thing.
yeah. And if you think about like, why do we buy anything? Right. Well, we buy things because like, hey, listen, I got to pay for my power. I need water and I
Yeah.
need gallon grocery bags, right? Or a gallon freezer bags. I just bought some yesterday. So that's why that comes to mind. But most other categories of consumption can be wrapped in the experiential. And quite frankly, there's probably someone who could figure out how to take something like gallon freezer bags and turn it into an experience. We've done it with almost everything else. So, like tapping into the reason we leave our homes, right? You don't have to leave your home to buy anything.
No, not anymore. COVID did fix that all for us.
Well, yeah, and Bezos and COVID, right? It's kind of like, hey, thanks, Jeff. You really popped the top and got us to a place where we are totally comfortable buying anything online. And then you have platforms like Shopify that make it really, really easy, and others like Shopify to allow that small entrepreneur to or the big entrepreneur to sell directly to consumers. But the question I find interesting is, why am I willing to leave my home? Because I know I'm not willing to never leave my home, but why do I leave my home? And retailers can take a significant percentage in revenue of the reason you leave your home, because I don't always just go stand in a park or go on a hike. I'm meeting people doing things.
Yeah, doing things. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like if I didn't, if I didn't need to, I mean, I don't really need to. I work and live at home. The reason why I leave my house right now is because my two sons are starting school or daycare or preschool or whatever. I'm a fast-paced mom. I own a business and I got things going on. I order my groceries. I go pick them up. In my route to and from daycare, like I don't really need to do like a lot unless I go seek it out. Like I went to that Northwest Mountain Challenge. I go to birthday parties. I go to, I go shopping. I have to go do a thing that maybe I want to try something on in person or experience it in person. But I don't have to do that. I'll take my kids to the lake. I'll take my kids to go do things to create those memories and those experiences. But gosh, COVID very much proved that we don't have to leave the house really if we didn't need to.
Yeah.
So, which is very unfortunate because I think that obviously caused a lot of other social fabric issues that I'm praying it will come back to life in years to come. For sure. We had that blend of professional and personal lives that happened and occurred during COVID for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that was rough. But here we are. It's okay. I was thinking about a word when we were talking about the imperfect thing. I was looking for the word kintsugi. Kintsugi?
Yeah.
You ever heard of that? With Japanese, how a broken bowl, they'll put it back together with like gold to fuse it back together. And it's like more beautiful than it was before. All of your broken pieces, all your whatever you got going on. It's a really beautiful analogy for just human life in general. Whatever your past, whatever you got going on, whatever brokenness you come from, it can be put back together with gold lace, and it's even more beautiful than it was before. And I think that's one thing, I don't know about you, but as a mom and my husband and I, we fix a lot of broken toys and we do lots of funny things as parents. And, we love them almost, maybe my kid breaks something in my bathroom that I really loved. Well, I almost love it even more that my husband glued it back together and I still love it.
Right.
And it reminds me of an incident with my kid or something. And it's like, you know what? It's okay. It's just an object. It's just a thing. It can get glued back together. It's okay. And I love it even more. And you love yourself and you love life even more because of all the brokenness and all the crazy things that happen in life.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Those experiences. It makes us human.
Yeah. And suffering is another way to, in the process of being broken and fixed again, suffering is a necessary thing to create amazing humans. And so it's a beautiful metaphor. The kintsugi, I think, is how you say it. And I can't help but pointing out, I think your story is really good, but we have customers that do those workshops. They help people come in, and there's a whole narrative. Yeah, there's a whole narrative behind it, which is, there's the Japanese kind of ethic and culture behind it. But in general, it's 100% what you're saying. It's things are more beautiful having been broken.
They really are. Whether it be an object or a human, a lot of us have, whatever happened story. We all have our own story and brokenness in the past, whether we have personal lives or things in the past. But it's just those what make us human. That's what makes us humanly beautiful in each in our own individual ways. Life happens, and we all have funny things that happen to us. Crazy, funny, not so fun things, experiences happen, and that's what makes us also very beautiful. And those tough times or those things, either they're gonna, they build character, they make you who you are. definitely character building and then some, but they're
Oh
not
yeah,
enjoyable.
yeah.
You know,
Love that.
you can't have happiness without sorrow. You know, you don't know one without the other, and you have to have both in order to appreciate the latter.
Yep, love it. It's great.
Yeah, aw. Yeah, so that is human experiences, and that's just one thing I think that we all crave, because we all know that our time on this earth is not endless, or is not infinity. It is,
Yeah.
our days are counted. We don't know if we've got 2 days, 2 years, 2 months, or 20 years, or 2 decades. You know, we don't know anything. It's so
Right.
crazy. It's not still something we don't have control of,
That's right. Yeah,
which for some of us
absolutely.
control freaks, that's super challenging. You're like, but I don't know. It's not up to me. Oh my goodness. Anyhow, so I think we're kind of coming up to the top of the hour. What's something that just quickly, do you want to go through, tell me about like maybe a business failure that you pulled out of, or do you want to more promote something about your business, or kind of where do you want to go with wrapping up a little bit about yourself before we end this
Oh,
wonderful
geez.
episode?
So do I want to relive my pain, or do I want to promote myself? Yeah, no, I honestly, to continue to pull the thread on failure, I do think the most interesting thing is the striving and the transparent honesty about what's going on. When I listen to podcasts like this, what gets me perked up is the story about the struggle. Do I think it's remarkable, people's success and where they ended up, rolling around in their filthy lucre or having all the freedom or being able to give away all the money or whatever? Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's very few of us who don't want to
Aspirations.
go there. Right. Yeah. But I just, for me, the reality is that I would say to any other entrepreneurs out there who are saying, "Oh, I want to do my own thing, or I want to do something like this," and they're gonna end up working with a person like you to do communication and branding, and all those things. And I would just tell everyone that Amber is very excellent at these things. What is inevitable, if your story is anything like mine, is it's not, oh, I'm going, you wake up one day and you're like, yeah, and you pull the trigger and you're like, dang, look at me, I just shot through the roof. Yeah, I mean, we will, and I have, and you have, and everybody has had these quick
Mm.
hit wins. But there's, to a degree, if it's too easy, if there's not enough resistance, you're it's probably not worth pursuing. I think there's
Oh,
some of these things that I have found to be absolutely true. I will say, "Oh shoot, yeah, let's build this experiences thing." And then you create it, you kind of, it's held together with duct tape and baling wire, and you say, "Let's put it out there." And you immediately have dozens of customers. Not enough to give all your attention to it, but now you've got a major problem. You've got a piece of software that's not working particularly well. Like, for example, we thought it would be Betty Joe's bead shack off an interstate highway, or like an like a inner city highway. Like, oh, I'm going to do some Fimo bead classes because nobody comes in to buy beads anymore. You know what it was? It was a multi-million-dollar candle making operation with 7 locations, and they're like, how come this thing doesn't work very well? It's like, well, because you're shoving like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of bookings through a month. We didn't plan for this. And they're like, can you fix it? And it's just like, ah,
that's so cool.
but we're not charging enough to rebuild it, because engineers are really expensive. And so just the crisis of you go forward, you fall back, you go forward, you fall back. And
True.
in hindsight, obviously everything is extremely clear, but anytime I have tried to do something new, I've come to the end of myself, I've come to the end of my resources, and I have wanted at times to die. Not just like I have. There has been times when I didn't even want to get out of bed. I was just absolutely depressed. And I don't want to make light of people going through that, but there are shades of that
Empathy.
when I have tried to do anything meaningful, I have to push through that. And I just think it's such a wonderful thing to be able to strive and fail your way to success. And one thing I've also learned that through some circumstances that have happened over the past couple of years is I have disabused myself of certain levels of success and just realized that I can be content providing a really solid product for people serving their community, and I want it to be sustainable, and that's good enough. And in that, maybe there'll be tremendous success, but I don't know. That maybe that monologue is just a bunch of drivel, but I think that's the most interesting thing about my story.
Well, I think so too. I mean, the perseverance and pushing, the grit that when times get tough or things happen, that your perseverance, like, gosh, when you're in it, it's depressing and it sucks and it's awful and it's no good and it's not an enjoyable experience. Like, you wish you were not here. You wish you didn't have to go through it. But then you have those times of like reflection and, you've gotten through it. Maybe the dust has finally settled. Okay, you're on the other side of it. And then you just reflecting. And you come to find out that perhaps you learned quite a bit about yourself and about how to handle a certain situation and how to do it better next time or how to do it differently next time. And that's also something about the human experience, is that taking time to reflect and have a moment to learn from experiences. I don't know about you, but I've been in business, solo. I've been 100% full-time. I've been in business for 8 years. And just in those 8 years, you're constantly trying new things and you're reflecting. You maybe hit rock bottom and then something happens and yays and lows and yays and lows and all the different things in a business. But I think the thing about a business or an entrepreneurial spirit is that you persevere, you find a way, you have that grit, that character, that something, that push, that drive, that you're like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to go do a thing. And by golly, I'm going to go do it. And you try a new thing and you try it. Maybe you fail and you fail again and you fail again. But you fail and you keep trying and you keep going. And then maybe it's not, maybe it's your goals there, but it's going to be here and there and up, down. But maybe you'll finally get there someday. You'll have sunshines and rainbows. But sometimes to get there, you got to go through a few valleys and a few muckety mucks and some other things that you have to strive through in order to get to the knight in shining armor or something, right?
Yeah, I do think it's interesting to watch yourself and other people.
A hero's journey. I think you call that a hero's journey.
Yeah, the hero's journey. Yeah, I do think it's very interesting to the process of just getting mired down, getting discouraged, and when if you just stop and you say, well, what can I do now? How can I use my creative faculties at whatever level I have them to go farther? And when you point your attention towards a problem to be solved that is one that you are particularly solving, it's amazing how many solutions can come out of it. I was like, well, I'm going to try this now. And how about I try this? And other people are not going to do that. And that is what separates winners from quitters. It's not necessarily your intellect or my resources, it's my willingness and ability to persist.
And I think outside the box too. I think, putting whatever the thing is down and tabling it for a little while and walking away and then thinking on it, going for, nature, hike, or whatever it is that you do to like reset, nurture yourself, self-care, whatever that is for you. Sometimes you'll find, obviously, something will spark a thing, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't think of this thing. That's gonna solve this way. If I think about it this way, blah 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 blah. And you just it'll solve a thing. But somebody's got to table a thing. Sometimes you have to get out of your email, get out of everything, and try something else, and just stop thinking about it for a little while and table it, and then go do something else, and then maybe perhaps, voila, maybe it comes back at you in a whole new way, and you're like, or you're doing something completely different in the garage, and you're like, oh, I could apply this thing, this whatever I'm doing to this idea. Magic.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you nailed it.
Isn't that fun? Gosh, I don't know how many times that happened to me in design. I'm stuck on a problem, something I got to solve visually for the user experience. And I'm like, oh, I need to table this for a little while. It says I need to think about this user experience in a whole new way because this is new and innovative. And I got to go do something else for a while and come back. I got to go experience it for myself in real life. Sometimes you have to get your butt off the computer and go live life a little bit. Get out of the technology and go live a little bit, go do a little bit, go do it for yourself in real time, touch it. And then, oh, maybe that would make it better in the digital space. Sometimes I have to do that as well.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my gosh. Go live life, right?
Live life. Exhaust yourself. I don't know if exhausting yourself, but one thing that someone said recently, they were saying something like the average person is trying to preserve themselves until their last breath, keep their skin supple, keep their body, pain free. And this person said, no, that's not how I want to go out. I want to have wrung every last bit of energy out of myself. I want to be a dried up, desiccated husk, having given it all and left it on the door. And I just basically, fade away as I don't know. I'm probably extrapolating too much, but
no, but I love that. I think as an athlete, I think that resonates really well with me. I used to do cross country, for example, and I also used to be a coxswain for the men's rowing crew team at Western. Mm-hmm. And you always have to sprint to the finish line. Whatever else you got left in the tank, you sprint to the finish line, give it to me all. I want all of it. And I think that's a really great way to live it, right? You live it hard, you go, work hard, play hard. And by the time you're all done, man, you should have all of the wrinkles, you should have all of the white hair, you should have all of the broken bodies, pieces and whatever's, because you went and lived it. And I think that's a good way to go. I like that.
Yeah.
Exhaust yourself. I like that a lot as a gosh, with all of my coaches, they push you to your limits, right? I don't know. Did you ever do sports?
Yeah. Did soccer, did some baseball and skiing, snowboarding, and mostly one-on-one. But yeah, team sports, what I knew, it was grueling and you had to give it your all. So
give it your all. So I think that's kind of like a good, as an athlete, you give it your all. And I think that's a good way to live. You live your life. Go try it all. Go do it all. Don't say no. Go try it. Go do it. You're not guaranteed tomorrow.
That's right. Absolutely.
Well, I think that's a good one to live on, good one to end on. And I think that's going to be a nice way. Go live life. Go have experiences. And I appreciate your time today. That was a really good talk. I like that a lot.
Could I share one final encouragement for any retailers listening to this podcast?
Oh, by all means, please do.
Okay, yeah. I just encourage retailers out there to recognize that these spaces they're paying premium dollars for are perfect places to host community. And you would be surprised, almost regardless of what you do, how eager your customers might be to gather together with you as the expert. Not having to provide some lofty education, but just an opportunity to come together to have some sort of experience, whether it's a small pop-up experience or maybe even a joint venture pop-up experience you're having with fellow retailers or complementary services, and just give it a go. Try it. Just build that mailing list and say, hey, who wants to come for and you can hit me up and I will for free spitball ideas with you and help you. You don't have to use my software, which you can find at experiencesapp.com. But we can just spitball like ideas to test out whether or not your customers will do more than just engage you for consumption. And I almost guarantee you it will transform your business future. So try it, whether you talk to me or not.
I know. I think that's a good lesson, a good talk. Yeah, go try it. Go experience it. You will not be disappointed in working with Mr. Mark.
Hey, well, I've always enjoyed working with you, Amber, and your skills and abilities and the energy, obviously, Amber Energy, the eponymous name. You bring a lot of energy and you get the work done, and it always looks amazing. So
thank you for that.
I encourage people to talk to you as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you today and your time. Thank you for being a guest on Amber Energy, the podcast. Stay tuned for next time. Cheers.